Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Grow Your Tutoring Business. If you have stuck with this mini series all about some business tips, business startup advice over the last few days, well done for sticking with it each day. I really hope it's added value. If it has, please let me know what that is. What's been your biggest takeaway from so far? Leave a comment or message me, because it's really nice to know that, one, you're listening, but also that you're getting something from it. Now, today is the final one of this series, which is about visibility. And this is really important. One of the biggest advantages to having a business today in the situation and space that we're in, social media is a massive tool, big tool for us to use as business owners. And it's really easy to be visible. There are positive consequences and negative consequences to this. A lot of it's wrapped up in mindset, but also risk. If you are risk averse, it's likely that you're not going to want to put your face out there or do a video and be visible in that sense. But it doesn't mean that you can't get reach. Visibility is about reaching people, and they can find you and see you. And we need to make that as easy as we can. So with this kind of little snippet into visibility, what we're going to look at something to do with how can we increase our reach if we are nervous about putting our face on things? How can we become visible and make it easy for people to find out about what we do? So we're going to deal with that first. And then we're going to look at actually how do we increase that confidence around turning up for our business and actually putting content out there that means people can find us and find out more about what we do. So you can see that they're pretty much interlinked. So first of all, let's deal with just what visibility really is for any business. Let's go back before we had social media, which is a really easy way for us to get out there now. It doesn't cost us any money. What would we be doing if we did have to spend money to find the people that would be our potential customers? How would we work out where to place ourselves? How would we work out where to put that advert? Particularly if we're starting on a limited budget, well, we'd be doing things like finding out where best to put leaflets. We'd be finding out where best to stand and talk to people. We might be, if we had money to invest, we might think about where the best billboard positions were. It could be which magazines or newspapers to put adverts in. Let's go back to the 80s and 90s, I know the internet was around in the 90s, but it wasn't mainstream then, or the early 90s especially. We'd probably be doing things like Yellow Pages. We'd be doing things like the ad scene. I mean, who remembers the ad scene, right? And then the local papers too. So we would have adverts in those places because we know people, not necessarily always our ideal client, but at least sometimes our ideal client will look for those services or accidentally find them. It hasn't changed that much, apart from we now have just a multitude of different ways of reaching them. Now, the big consequence to that is there's so many places, where do we go? Now, some of this is just about trial and improvement. When you start posting in, say, let's just use Facebook groups, because that's the easiest thing to use for now. Facebook groups, local Facebook groups for mums, Facebook group for whatever it is that your ideal client might be into. You keep track of what you are allowed to post in, when you're allowed, how often you're allowed to do it. And I tend to put that on a Google sheet, right? Because then it's all in one place and you can put the links in there to make it really easy. So we need to be really clear about where we can go and how often, so we can track whether it's worked or not. That's being visible. Now, how we are visible is the next question. So how do we do that if we're not going to do videos like this or do audio like this? Perhaps we need to look at our Facebook page, and how do we show up? Is it just through text and then some kind of generic image, or maybe something you've created on Canva? All of these is still visibility. It's something you're creating within your business and then you put it out there. Whether it's got your face on it or not is irrelevant to the fact that you are now being visible, or you're making sure your business is being visible to people. So I don't want there to be that confusion around you being visible for your business and your business being visible and then reachable for others. But let's move this on one more step, which is you actually turning up for your business is really positive, and it is the route to accelerated growth. I think this has always been the case, but I think more now than ever, People buy from people. This is a phrase that has been bandied around a lot over the last 5 years. It's still true today as it was even years and years ago, it was still the case. I think it's the same if you're lucky enough to be building a brand. Also, people buy from trusted brands, but people like to still buy from people over anything else. So if there is somebody out there who really trusts you, they are far more likely to come back and buy from you again. I was telling a story, I think it was in yesterday's session, about the salesperson, the car salesperson who sold the car. It was the cheaper car to the person on the forecourt. When it's their time to buy again, they're far more likely to go back there because of the service they received. There's trust. It's about that person. It wasn't about the name of the car lot or the business. It was about that person and how they served them. This is the same for us in our business. People will buy from you if you show up. The right people will buy from you when you show up. So being the face of your business has an advantage. Now, we don't have to start that way, because I know I'm the same as you. I had a conversation with somebody today who has a following on social media of over 500,000 people. They started in exactly the same way, where it was not their face, it was memes, it was being behind text. It can still grow into something massive when you're ready and you're doing that work on yourself and becoming more confident, and then you're ready to show up and put your face onto something. That's when the magic really starts to happen. But it doesn't mean you can't start your business, because you can. So we can start. I'm going to give you a bit of a blueprint for how we can move towards putting our face and recording videos. We can start with text, and we can have images, stock images. We don't need to put your face on anything at all. You have something to share, which is amazing. Put that down in text first. Put a lovely image next to it for a hook. Put it out there for people to read and connect with. We can do this for quite a few months, even years sometimes. But then you might step towards perhaps creating an avatar of yourself so it looks like you, that at least there's like a figure to the business. That can be the next thing. You can even get it to talk on things like Canva, and you can even change the voice if at this moment you still can't stand to hear your own voice, which that's how we all begin when we record videos like this. I don't think anybody really likes the sound of their own voice because it just sounds so foreign, but you do get used to it. You do get used to the fact that you have to edit yourself and watch yourself and identify all the things that sort of make you cringe on the inside. But you do get past that eventually. We are our own worst critic when it comes to videos and images. Okay, most of us don't like it. I know there's some people who don't mind, but most of us start off thinking, oh, this is really cringe. I don't like it. I don't think anyone else is going to like it. And you end up with that whole imposter syndrome sneaking in and being a barrier to you actually showing up for your business. That's not what we want. We get there through practice. We get there through rehearsal. I'm a big believer that you should be rehearsing these things before they go out, because you want to feel confident with them. If you can switch the camera on and feel confident when you do it, it makes such a big difference. I've got to a stage now where I still rehearse. I still do those things. I don't rehearse as much as what I used to. Sometimes before going live, I would, even if it was just a 5-minute live, I would rehearse it 4 or 5 times. Now I can just go over it in my head, switch the camera on, and I kind of just roll with the mistakes, because largely they don't matter unless it was a really huge mistake. But how often is a huge mistake really going to happen? Really? Like barely. I might stumble over my words a little bit, like I have in this episode. But it's largely ignored by others. It's the idea is the content, and the content that you're coming up with is at a high level, which means people will want to listen. This is what I mean by turning up. Okay, so look, that can be done with an avatar. It doesn't have to be you yet, but it can be something that you can step towards. If that works well, you're going to even more confidence that you could bring to the table. Then you might have a go at putting some pictures out, or you might record something and have a faceless video. You might have B-roll rolling in the background while you're talking about something. For example, let's kind of give you like a mental image of this. If you're talking about maths, you could go onto something like Canva, look at their stock videos, maybe that last like a minute or two, and then you could just talk about how cramped the maths curriculum is in Key Stage 2. And you just talk over an image of maths images of maybe children sat at desks working, or there might be people rolling a dice or playing board games, or it could be anything really. But you're doing your voiceover. Now, that's still quite engaging, and it's you, but you're not on the video. So there are ways to step towards it until, again, you get confident doing that, and then you'll be ready to show your face. So we can kind of step towards this kind of personal visibility, but it doesn't mean your business has to stay in the shadows. There are other ways of growing your visibility and getting it out there. So we have our business visibility, we have our personal visibility. I think our personal visibility for our business is important because it's about building us as the brand. But let's not ignore the fact that the business can get out there ASAP. So if you've been holding back in any way because you are nervous, that you think that you've got to put your video out or you've got to do images of yourself before you can go online, that's not true. I don't think we should be hiding behind a logo for too long, but there are still ways of getting your message out there. So I suppose that the final thing to say here is about, okay, so you are prepared to get onto Canva and do that steep learning curve. You are prepared to put your face onto the video or put your images on and then write some copy and put some text out there. It's still the idea of where do we go? So that's coming full circle to what we were starting at in the beginning. What would we have done without social media? Where would we have been? Compare that to now, where I know there's a lot of options, but if you're a local tutor, and I think this even works for the ones who are online as well, I'd still focus on my local area if I'm an online tutor just starting out. I'd be looking at the places where I'm well known. So I live in Canterbury. I was a teacher in Canterbury for about 10 years. I'm not saying I'm like really well known because I'm not, but I could still, so you put it on my personal profile. On my business page, it's a bit unfair now. Don't compare your business page to mine. But my business page has been around for a little while. But even when it was really new, I would share it through my personal profile and I would get a couple of likes or follows. Like if I did it often enough, I'd get maybe 1 or 2 a week, which doesn't sound a lot, but it ends up adding up to something. And the more reach you have, the more visible you'll be, the more likes and shares you'll get. And it snowballs from there. So visibility is not just about you, it's about your business. Find a way, find a method or a type of media that works for you now, and then you can step towards the things that you would really love to do, perhaps just feel a bit too nervous at the moment. I think text with images to an avatar to voiceovers to you turning up and being visible is quite a nice step to take, because you get used to working with all the platforms, you get used to working on things on Canva. Then you can get used to listening to your own voice and editing, and then you can get on screen or with a camera putting your face to your business, which I think is a really quick way of growing your business. Okay, I'm going to leave that with you now. Thank you so much if you stayed with this from start to finish. If you stayed with it like each day as it's gone live, which is sort of late December 2024, great. If you're listening to this and it's a bit further into the future, welcome. Great to have you on board. Please, it still applies to you as well. I'd love to know what your big takeaways are. If you've got value from this mini-series, please let me know what that is. And like and subscribe wherever you are, because it really helps the channel stay in touch with you. But it also like helps all the other things that happen on these places, like the algorithms, the stuff we don't like talking about. And we want to make sure we reach more people in 2025. That's the big aim. And yeah, so like and subscribe. Right, I'll see you all soon. Oh, one tiny little detail to end with. What other mini-series would you like to have in the future? What else could I be talking about that would keep you listening? And in this way, I don't usually do podcasts in this way, something a bit new. Usually I try to do at least 1 a week. I'd like to do 2 a week. But doing a mini-series like this has been really fun, and I'd like to do it again. So let me know what that would be. Right, I'll speak to you all soon. See you later.